I'd like to call the meeting of the Kane County Forest Preserve Commission to order. Ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and have Commissioner Molina lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pat, please call the roll.
Present. Auger.
Here.
Ferrero. Here. Castro. Demos.
Here.
Donahue.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Fry.
Here.
Gillum.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Hennon. Lazar.
Here.
Lash. Here. Lewis.
Here.
Molina. Present. Pollock.
Here.
Peplo. Silva.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Stark. Taylor. Here. Vasquez. Here.
First item of business is approval of the minutes of the November 12th meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Moved by Mr. Heyman, second by Mr. Lewis. Any question on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. There's no one signed up to speak this morning. I'll entertain a motion to approve the bills. Moved by Mr. Ford, second by Ms. Lesh. Any questions on the bills? Hearing none, Pat, please call the roll.
Allen.
Aye.
Honor.
Yes.
Ferrero. Yes. Damos.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Fry.
Yes.
Gillum. Yes. Kane.
Yes.
Lazar.
Yes.
Lash. Yes. Lewis.
Yes.
Molina. Yes. Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffield. Silva. Smith.
Yes.
Taylor. Yes. Winnicki.
Yes.
Bills are approved. We have one bid this morning. It's a bid under Resolution 2269 for the demolition of structures at Bowes Creek Woods Forest Preserve. A motion to approve this. Moved by Ms. Lesh, second by Mr. Fraz. This is a 10-acre parcel that was donated to us by the Muirhead family. And when we accepted the donation, we did so with the understanding that the structures and the agreement that the structures would be removed by us. We originally anticipated a cost in the $70,000 to $80,000 range. And as you can see from this resolution, working with the county and cooperating with the county in terms of helping with the bid process, the bid came in at $31,000, so significant savings. So our net investment in the 10 acres of land there is going to be $31,000. Are there any questions on the resolution? Hearing none, Pat, please call the roll.
Allen.
Aye.
Honor.
Yes.
Ferrero. Yes. Damos.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Fry.
Yes.
Gillum.
Yes.
Kane.
Yes.
Lazar.
Yes.
Lash. Yes. Lewis.
Yes.
Molina. Yes. Pollock.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Taylor. Yes. Winnicki.
Yes.
Resolution 2269 is approved. We have two resolutions under land acquisition. The first is 2270, which is a resolution authorizing negotiation for the acquisition of the Mitzi property, which is 106.75 acres in Blackberry Township. Is there a motion to approve this? Moved by Mr. Fraz, second by Mr. Davis. Discussion. This is a property that is in the critical growth area. It's located between Johnson's Mound Forest Preserve and Dick Young Forest Preserve, in an area where we're planning a trail connection and a link. There are some nursery stock, or there is nursery stock on this property that we can relocate, 100-plus trees that we would relocate, and then this would be a restored prairie area ultimately. Are there any questions? Hearing none, Pat, please call the roll.
Allen.
Aye.
Auger.
Yes.
Ferrero. Yes. Damos.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Fry.
Yes.
Gillum. Yes. Kane.
Yes.
Lazar.
Yes.
Lash. Yes. Lewis.
Yes.
Molina. Yes. Pollock. Yes. Silva. Smith.
Yes.
Taylor. Yes. Winnicki.
Yes.
Resolution 2270 is approved. Next is Forest Preserve Resolution 2271. It's a resolution authorizing the sale of Forest Preserve District property in St. Charles Township. Moved by Mr. Davist. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Ford. This is a small parcel of land that is essentially landlocked along the Fox River that was acquired back at the time when it was anticipated that a river trail would be installed along the western bank of the Fox River. At that time, there was attempts made to acquire a number of connecting properties to provide the trail link, but then there was legislation adopted by the state that prohibited Forest Preserve acquisition. This process really predates, I think, anyone here on this commission serving. It was back in the era when Phil Elstrom was the president of the Forest Preserve District. There are a couple of parcels along the west side of the river that the Forest Preserve did acquire, one which we sold back to the neighbor, one of the neighbors, a year or so ago. There are two more parcels, this parcel and then one further north, that we're investigating selling back because the use as a regional trail connection potentially doesn't exist because it's the backyards of a number of residential homes. Since that time, we've rerouted the trail out to Randall Road. There are two trail connections, one up Silver Glen Road, and then there's another one along Redgate in connection with the Redgate Bridge construction. And so the thought process here was, although we as a Forest Preserve District generally are in the business of acquiring and preserving open space, in areas where there isn't a significant public benefit, the thought would be that we would sell this through an auction process, recoup funds that would be put in the land acquisition fund that would be invested elsewhere in more productive property for the district. Are there any questions? Mrs. Allen?
The discussion that I would present is just that I'm not sure we should ever give up riverfront property. If we wanted to sell it so that it would have use by a landowner, we could put an easement on it. So if the time ever came that we wanted to be able to move back and forth across this property or land on it from the river, we would be able to do that. So I think that when we sell riverfront property, that's the way that we should handle it. There was a comment made at the meeting that this is landlocked property and we don't have access to it, but the fact is any court will give you an easement of necessity to get to your property if you need to, so that's not a real argument, though staff time might be a good argument. But I just think that we should hold on to rights to the property because they're so hard to get.
All right, any other? Mr. Lewis and then Mr. Smith. Mr. Lewis?
This property has come up several times, and the conversation about selling has come up several times, and I've generally been opposed to it routinely here, and reason being it's on the river, and I agree with Ms. Allen, it's very difficult to find properties on the river, and it's also it's large enough, it seems to me, that we could put it to some use at some point. But I really appreciate the argument that it's landlocked, you can't get to it, it's, and I also appreciate the argument that if we can get some money for it that we can reinvest in other property, it makes some sense. So my caveat would be that we can put it up for auction, but I'm not going to be supportive of giving this property away for a small amount of money. I mean, if we can get a reasonable return on selling the property, I'll vote for selling it. I'm going to vote for this to get it out there on auction. But I think we need to demand a premium for the property because it's excellent property on the river. It's premium property, and I appreciate it's landlocked, but it's still premium property.
Mr. Smith?
Maybe Monica can correct me if I'm wrong. I was under the impression that this property was in a floodplain and it's not buildable. Is that?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
So even if the property owners buy it, they cannot, the adjoining property owners buy it, they cannot build on it.
Right.
Am I right?
Right. This just extends their property to the river.
So it will remain vacant land.
Yes.
Mr. Pollack?
I was just, for clarification, whose district is this in, and the opinion of the commissioner and maybe the residents in that district? Do you know? Okay.
That'd be my opinion.
Okay.
And I think it's important to remember
bigger picture, that we had a different plan when this was acquired, and we have successfully rerouted and accomplished the things that we wanted to. Really, we're just standing in the way now of property owners being able to enjoy that land the way that we had envisioned to begin with. So in this case, we have an opportunity to give it back, both the agreement, and use the money towards other projects that we have a long list of that we'd like to acquire.
Mr. Donahue?
Yeah, along those lines, you know, effectively right now, this property is being utilized effectively as the rear yards of those two residences that front on 31. And if I were the residences, I would prefer that it stay this way because I have the full benefit of the land as my backyard for free. I didn't have to purchase the property. I don't have to pay taxes on the property. And yet I still have the full use and enjoyment of this really private space in my own backyard. So I think the only equitable way to deal with it is to auction the property. It would occur to me that the two landowners to the west would be the likely bidders. I do agree with Phil that we have to have a minimum bid that makes sense, particularly in view of what was paid for it initially. And hopefully there's an ability to make a return on that initial investment. But let's say we return it to the tax rolls and not maintain someone else's backyard on the back of the taxpayer.
Mr. Fraz?
The one thing you can't appreciate from this example we're looking at here from the plat is those two houses in front are extremely high-end homes. They're walkouts. So when you're on those two lots, like we said, it's an extension of their yard. One of them's already approaching onto it. But when you're on that property, you're looking at 3 stories of windows looking right down on you on each of those homes. So it wouldn't be a very comfortable situation for anything other than a trail.
All right, I will say that when I was first elected, we had a similar issue that we had to deal with in the Valley View subdivision, which is just across the river, where we had a number of sliver lots that the Forest Preserve District had acquired through tax sale. And there was a debate at that time in terms of whether we do preservation or whether we put those back on the tax roll. We had an auction. At that time, after significant debate, the district determined that it was in best interest of the district and the neighborhood to return those properties to the tax rolls. And what happened was the neighbors ended up acquiring 90% of what was available for auction, and now they've made those their side yards, and the quality of the neighborhoods improved significantly, and the maintenance burden on the district was reduced significantly, and so it was a win-win situation. Again, small isolated parcels are not really easy for us to maintain, and as our holdings grow, our focus has been expanding existing preserves, so we would reinvest this money elsewhere. All right, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Pat, please call the roll.
Dallas?
No.
Auger?
Yes.
Ferraro? Yes. Delos?
Yes.
Donahue?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Frost?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Bizarre?
Yes.
Lash? Yes. Lewis?
Yes.
Molina? Yes. Pollock?
Yes.
Silva? Yes. Smith?
Yes.
Taylor? Yes. Wodecki?
Yes.
Resolution 2271 is approved. Under intergovernmental agreements, we have Resolution 2272. It's a resolution authorizing a cooperative agreement with Kane County for drainage improvements and wetland enhancement along the Fox River in the Gunnar Anderson Forest Preserve District, which is adjacent to this building. Moved by Mrs. Allen, second by Ms. Woniecki. This is we have soccer field, actually, that is located just to the east of the parking lot behind the government center here. The county owns property along the river, and there's wetlands there that they need. They propose to do some restoration work. They also propose to do some drainage improvements that benefit the complex here in its entirety. And we have some drainage issues on our property where we have the fields. So This is an authorization for the district to work cooperatively with the county to allow them to do the drainage improvements. And so the overall drainage for the entire complex is improved. It's my understanding that if we approve this concept, then this will go through whatever channels are necessary at the county committee level to discuss the project and funding and eventual implementation. Are there any questions? Hearing none, Pat, please call the roll.
Allen. Parker.
Yes.
Ferrero. Yes. Calvo.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
Dillon. Yes. Caven.
Yes.
Cesar.
Yes.
Rath. Yes. Lewis.
Yes.
Molina. Yes. Pollock.
Yes.
Silva. Yes. Smith.
Yes.
Taylor. Yes. Wondersen.
Yes.
Resolution 2272 is approved. We have one ordinance this morning. It's Ordinance 496. This is an ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Pingree Grove for the acquisition of the Harrison property. Can I have a motion to approve this? Moved by Mr. Ford, second by Mr. Smith. This is a parcel that is located directly to the west of our existing forest preserve in Pingree Grove. You may recall we did a grand opening at this preserve a couple years ago. Significant prairie restoration and trail system exists in the current Pingree Grove Forest Preserve District. When we originally acquired the land for that Forest Preserve District, we attempted to acquire this property to the west, but unfortunately the price was significantly higher and was sold eventually to a developer for development. Now, there was originally planned a industrial park subdivision on the property, and zoning was provided by the village, and it was approved for development. And then, of course, with the turndown in economy, that development is stalled and not moved forward. There were some comments in the paper over the weekend that were a little bit troubling because I think they mischaracterized the facts regarding the property. As you can see in the exhibit that you have in the packet, there is on this property, there is a plat of subdivision. There's 11 subdivided parcels, subdivided lots there for an industrial park area. There was reference to the fact that this property is all wetland or unbuildable, and that's simply not true. The price that is proposed to be paid is $13,500 an acre, which is the appraised value of the property. Originally, when we first began discussions with the village, they had an appraisal that was in excess of $20,000 an acre. And then with time, we asked them, we went through a standard negotiation process and ultimately arrived at the price through negotiation here at the $13,500 an acre. This not only benefits our preserve because it expands it and it avoids the potential construction of industrial park buildings on the west end, but it also helps us with a current drainage issue we have on our existing property, and by being able to not have that property built on but potentially expand a wetland in that area, it would benefit us in that respect as well. So that's the basis on which this was brought forward. It's consistent with the plan that we articulated when we passed the last referendum, and that was that we would look for parcels to expand our existing preserves. This meets that criteria to a T and actually fits the plan that we had established back in prior referendums when we first bought the Pingree Preserve. There was some dissent on the village board in Pingree. There are some people who are on the board who are more economically development inclined that felt that this property should be kept for development, but we worked cooperatively with the village and we have the majority support to have this project, so it's seen as a mutually beneficial project. Mr. Smith?
I did have a conversation with one of the trustees on the Pingree Grove Village Board, and it was his opinion that there was a business owner that expressed an interest in putting a business on part of that 12 acres that they kept, and that was the reason it was held down. Now apparently that business owner is going into Humphrey instead of Pingree Grove, so it may come back down
as well.
to us. I don't know.
Yeah, you're talking about an additional, originally when we began our discussion, this was 50 plus acres. Now it was reduced by 12 acres because there was a parcel that they wanted to retain.
Correct.
Right. Mr. Frost?
I don't know if this has been petitioned for
there's a failed drain tile that's caused that to occur. If the drain tile was repaired, then the property originally was completely, the entire parcel was farmed, and then over a period of time, one of the drain tiles failed. So if they repaired that, it could go back to ag. The 13,000 price is essentially ag land price for that area.
I think we're preventing, by purchasing this, preventing this from being built. I think we're preventing a lot of future complaints and issues with that wetland.
Right. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Pat, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Connor.
Yes.
Herrera.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Frost.
Yes.
Dillon.
Yes.
Hagan.
Yes.
Bizarre.
Yes.
Lash. Yes. Lewis.
Yes.
Molina. Yes. Pollock.
Yes.
Stefano.
Yes.
Silva. Yes. Smith.
Yes.
Taylor. Yes. Wodecki.
Yes.
Ordinance 496 is approved. Are there any comments of the commission this morning? Okay. Mr. Pollock?
I just wanted to congratulate staff. The event for employees on last week was it was my first time attending, and it was good to see the employees there. They seemed to enjoy it, and it was a nice turnout, and you guys did a good job. It's nice to recognize staff who works hard all year, so thank you.
I heard Monica had a beautiful wing on.
As did Commissioner Frost. So, it's either a lot of gel or a nice wig. No, I just want to comment on the event. I want to thank Tracy and our staff for putting that together. It's just a good event. It's hard to get our staff together in one place at any given time, given the demands that we have. And I think it just gives us a good time to say thanks, and I feel lucky as a commissioner and as president of the district to have such a hardworking staff, and it's nice to recognize them once a year. All right, if there's no further comments, there is no need for executive session. I'll entertain a motion to place on file the department reports. Moved by Mr. Heyman, second by Mrs. Auger. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn. Mr. Heyman, second by Mr. Davis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned until January 14th.